I was out on a Friday night with my pals having a beer. Didn't feel quite right, so I came home early. I woke up the next morning and I couldn't breathe, basically. I couldn't walk without gasping for air. Over that weekend, we tried out of hours, the doctors and things like that, not thinking once to phone an ambulance when I couldn't breathe. Eventually diagnosed a few days later with cardiomyopathy, and I was rushed off. I live in Dundee, so it was at Nine Wells Hospital. I got transferred through to NSD straight away, and I was told, my parents were told, that I would need a transplant or I wouldn't leave this hospital without one. Within 48 hours, through in Glasgow, need a heart transplant, no illness at all whatsoever, I was relatively well, fit and healthy, 21-year-old, it was honestly as fast as that. Just overnight almost, it just hit me. I was in the Jubilee for a few weeks, I recovered, I got home, but I wasn't stable. I had to kind of build my strength up again, short walks, build up my strength. I was really, really weak. And I was on and off the heart transplant list on the routine side for about 5 years, on and off. Always kind of just at a stable level where the tablets would keep me, but ultimately knowing I would need a heart transplant. And then, last year, I just felt really weak. I just felt really tired. I put that down to lockdown because everybody was indoors, not really allowed to go out and things like that. And I was considered a person to be shielded. So I was kind of stuck in the house. I was whipped into the Jubilee and I was told that they do an MOT on you and they say, no, you can't leave. You definitely need a transplant now. I went into the Jubilee not thinking it would be that bad because I'd been admitted a few times and it was always, you're okay, tinker your tablets, off you go. But to be told by Professor Petrie, it's time for the transplant, that hit me hard because it was during lockdown. I wasn't allowed any visitors. My wife was pregnant. It was awful. It was really hard. And the hardest part about being in hospital was being alone, not the normality of having visitors and getting out and about and things like that. I remember it vividly, just Louise coming in the morning and calm as anything, just saying, we've had a phone call to say that a donor heart's became available and if you could just start fasting now, don't eat your breakfast, and things are moving quite quickly, so we'll be in touch. You just get yourself together and we'll be back in an hour. And it was like this, it sounds a bit silly, but I did feel this warm sensation going through my body, just thinking, wow, the first office finally came. But you've also got to sort of compose yourself because a lot of patients who get a donor heart offer, the first one is likely not to go through because just by process of elimination, so many things, so many factors have to come into play. And it was my first offer and it was the offer that worked. I phoned my family, I got them through from Dundee. They were allowed to come in under special circumstances. They walked along the corridor. I got to see my brothers in the corridor because they weren't allowed in. You go around the corner and you're ultimately saying bye to them until you wake up. 24 hours after my operation, I was awake in CCU and I was quite out of it. I wasn't myself, but I remember seeing my wife. I remember seeing Roy Gardner, the professor. I remember FaceTiming my parents. I was asking if I'm alive and things like that. And it was just a blur. It was a total blur to get in and out so quickly. I've had a heart transplant. It doesn't feel. I'm 27. I feel like a normal bloke. I go to the football, go out with my pals, I take my son out for walks. It's life changing. Someone's given that to me that I could never repay. 7.5 weeks between finding out I was needing the transplant and waiting for it to actually happen. It was 4 weeks after the transplant I got out. Everything went without a hitch. I was in and out within 3 months. Honestly, since the transplant, I'm like a different man. It was a year ago now. It was over a year. I'm 27. I've got my baby. Without the transplant, I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't live so long. I wouldn't be there for my next child because my wife's pregnant again. I feel great. I take about 15 tablets every morning. I roll out of bed. I can do anything I want. Nothing stops me. I can raise my kids, and none of that's possible without a heart transplant. I returned to work 6 months after my transplant, doing full-time hours, just normal things that you wouldn't be able to do before. I would say ultimately it's your choice. You don't need to stay on the list. Everybody has their personal reasons for not. So nobody's forcing you to do it. You can opt out. But I can tell you from personal experience, I've had the best days of my life post-transplant because of a stranger. I've got to see my first child. I got to see him be delivered in the hospital. I carried him out of the hospital. His first laugh, his first words, his first crawling, his first everything. I wouldn't have seen that without a heart transplant. I get to spend the rest of my life being grateful. You see life differently. You see your children brought up, spend the rest of your life with your wife and your kids and living a totally normal life that I wasn't able to have before. And it's the best thing you could give, and I'm so grateful, and I'm living life to the fullest. I'll never disrespect this gift that I've got. I think it's so important to really, really think about being on or off the list and have proper reasons why.
There's no doubt that after going through the assessment process, the wait for the donor organ, the operation itself and the recovery, when you see them walk out transformed at the other end of that, it's truly a life-changing situation, and it's the best part of the job when you see that complete change and somebody that's been so close to death walking out to live the rest of their life.
Heart failure, you had good days and bad days, but with a heart transplant, every day's a good day.